Welcome back with another banger. It's the React Files, where we react
to the creepiest, craziest, scariest TikToks you shouldn't watch alone.
Hope you're having a good night. If you haven't already, please take a second just to smash that like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, just to make sure the algorithm knows what's up. So let's get straight to it.
Have you heard of Simulacra and Simulation by Jean Baudrillard? It's a philosophical work that explores the idea of simulations and copies replacing reality and its impact on our perception of the world. Welcome to Matrix Mondays.
You think that's air you're breathing now?
The book heavily influenced the movies, which depict a world where humans are unknowingly living in a simulated reality created by machines to keep them under control, blurring the lines between what's real and what's not. Think about it, social media can be seen as a type of simulacrum. We present idealized versions of ourselves and consume content that may not reflect reality. And what's scary is we may even begin to believe our simulations, forgetting what's truly authentic. Stay different.
So that's the author, John. Simulacra and Simulations. He was obviously way ahead of his time. And Keanu Reeves was required to read that book. I gotta get my hands on it, to be honest. That's how I feel. Let me know in the comments down below how you feel about it.
Okay, here's an...
So this is my infrared filter. It's a 950 nanometer long pass infrared filter. Blocks visible and lets infrared through basically. I'll be putting that on the front of the camera, and then I'll switch the camera to night shot. You'll be amazed, just watch. Wow, look at that. Isn't that incredible? This green tint is default and I cannot change it in Photoshop or Adobe Premiere. I'll be changing it. So this looks much better. Desaturated the clip and adjusting contrast. And you'll see me adjusting contrast throughout the clips.
It's like, wow. I just blew away through all that haze. That's just incredible.
Now in the foreground, this mountain is Mount Charleston. Behind it is the Nevada test site. Now you can see Groom Lake and Papoose Lake to the left. Just incredible. Look at that. Just take it all in. This is incredible. Just incredible. That banding of the atmosphere. Something else, isn't it?
Now, these guys film throughout the whole flight, so I'm going to time-lapse it just so we can move on. And if you guys want to watch the full video, I'll leave the link to their website in the description.
Because when we look down, it appears we're in a flat world. Everybody's got to make up their own mind. This is strange.
Wow, that's just incredible. Let me take the filter off to see how much haze there is out there. This is just...
Now, as you can see, these guys are really good at what they do. And as you can see with your own eyes, it's flat as a pancake and you can see everything in detail with the infrared. So this debunks the 1,000-mile-away picture.
I wonder if back in the 60s when they was using these type of lenses, especially the black and white filter, what were they able to see? Right? And did color get in the way of what we can see through lenses? No, it doesn't matter now because we got Google. But I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below.
Government admits flat Earth document number 1, put out by the CIA, whereby it looks like they stole it from the USSR, and this document was created, appears to be sometime around March of 1957, and you'll notice that in the bottom left-hand corner you'll see the title of the document, the author, if there is one cited, unless there's a ton of them, and I'm not going to list them all. And then you have the URL of this document, so if you want to go download it yourself, you're able to. And when I go through these documents themselves, you'll see on the bottom right-hand corner is the page number where you can find these phrases and words cited. So beginning with page 19 of 100 for this dissertation, there's the brightness of the firmament. The firmament is a biblical term which is mentioned in Genesis chapter 1 8 different times, and beginning with verse 6. And the firmament was made to divide and separate the waters from above from below, as well as the sun, moon, and stars are placed within the firmament. So please go reread Genesis chapter 1. The firmament is also mentioned on page 20. Also, a near sun, which means localized sun, is mentioned, and it talks about the brightness of the first order and derived. Page 6, it says, this report details the development of the linear model of a rigid aircraft of constant mass flying over a flat, non-rotating Earth. It goes on to say on this same page, by defining the initial conditions of the nominal trajectory for straight and level flight and setting the asymmetric aerodynamic and inertia terms to 0, one can easily obtain the more traditional linear models from the linear model derived in this report. On page 35, it says this report derives and defines a set of linearized system matrices for a rigid aircraft of constant mass flying in a stationary atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth. On page 55, it says based on assumptions of symmetric mass distributions, symmetric aerodynamics, and straight and level flight. And then on page 102, this report documents the derivation and definition of a linear aircraft model for a rigid aircraft of constant mass flying over a flat, non-rotating Earth. Government admits flat Earth document number 8, put out by NASA, titled General Equations of Motion for a Damaged Asymmetric Aircraft. And on page 2, it states, in this paper, the rigid body equations of motion over a flat, non-rotating Earth. Government admits flat Earth document number 9, put out by NASA, titled Predicted Performance of a Thrust-Enhanced SR-71 Aircraft with an External Payload. This was put out in June of 1997. And it states, non-rotating Earth. Right there, page 10. And this SR-71 Blackbird has a top speed of 2,193 miles per hour. And it doesn't have to account for the rotation of the Earth, the Coriolis effect, the alleged Coriolis effect, or even the curvature of the Earth at 2,193 miles per hour. Certainly it would have to if it existed, unless it was flying over a flat, non-rotating Earth. Government admits flat Earth document number 10, put out by the Federal Aviation Administration in conjunction with a company named MITRE. It's derivation of a point mass aircraft model used for fast time simulation. This is from April 2015. It says, assuming a flat, non-rotating Earth, page 7. Government admits flat Earth document number 11, put out by NASA in conjunction with the University of Kansas. They contracted KU to do this work with them, and it was put out June of 1971. It is titled A Method for Reducing the Sensitivity of Optimal Nonlinear Systems to Parameter Uncertainty. Let's see what it has to say. Page 14. It says the idealizing assumptions made are the following. Number 2 is a flat, non-rotating Earth. Government admits flat Earth document number 12, put out by NASA. It is titled Calculation of Wind Compensation for Launching of Unguided Rockets. And on page 8 and 10, we have a diagram, as well as it states the missile position in space is computed relative to a flat, non-rotating Earth. Government admits flat Earth document number 13, put out by NASA, December of 1987, titled User's Manual for Linear A Fortran Program to Derive Linear Aircraft Models. And it states on page 16, a rigid aircraft flying in a stationary atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth. Government admits flat Earth document number 13, put out by NASA, December of 1987, titled User's Manual for Linear A Fortran Program to Derive Linear Aircraft Models. And it states on page 16, a rigid aircraft flying in a stationary atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth. Government admits flat Earth, document number 14, put out by NASA in 1988. In fact, it looks like to be an updated version from the document number 13 that I just went over. Same authors and almost the same exact, if not same exact title, which is User's Manual for Interactive Linear, a Fortran program to derive linear aircraft models. And it states on page 4, equations with stationary atmosphere and flat, non-rotating Earth assumptions. Same thing as in document 13, same authors, basically same title. They didn't make any adjustment. Going on to page 126, it states the same thing, stationary atmosphere and flat, non-rotating Earth assumptions. Doesn't look like they made a mistake with that documentation there. Government admits flat Earth, document number 15, put out by NASA. This was put out in March of 1972, and it is titled Determination of Angles of Attack and Sideslip from Radar Data and a Roll-Stabilized Platform. What does it have to say? Well, page 2, it states the method is limited, however, to application where a flat, non-rotating Earth may be assumed. If it's limited to that assumption, and the Earth is a spinning ball, then this document is garbage, unless the Earth is truly flat and non-rotating. Government admits flat Earth, document number 16, put out by NASA. It's titled U.S. Standard Atmosphere. What does it have to say? Well, on page 22, it says, for the accuracy required in this document, it suffices to treat the surface as an ellipsoid whose flattening ellipticity. That means they had to flatten the globe. Why would you have to do that? For accuracy, maybe because the Earth is flat. Government admits flat Earth, document number 17, put out by NASA in December of 1991, titled An Aircraft Model for the AIAA Controls Design Challenge. And what does it have to say? On page 13, it states the flight dynamics of a rigid aircraft flying in a stationary atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth. Government admits flat Earth, document number 18, put out by NASA. This was in December of 1978, titled Investigation of Aircraft Landing in Variable Wind Fields. And what does it have to say? On page 14, it states, the aircraft trajectory model employed in this study was derived based on the following assumptions. A, the Earth is flat and non-rotating. Government admits flat Earth, document number 19, put out by NASA, titled A Mathematical Model of the CH-53 Helicopter. And it states, on page 25, the helicopter equations of motion are given in body axes with respect to a flat, non-rotating Earth. Government admits flat Earth, document number 20, put out by NASA, titled Development and Validation of a Piloted Simulation of a Helicopter and External Sling Load. Well, what does it have to say? Well, on page 6, it states a general set of nonlinear rigid body equations of motion for both the helicopter and external load determines the motion of each vehicle with respect to a flat, non-rotating Earth. It states on page 37, the equations of motion for both the helicopter and the external sling load are developed in body axes with respect to a flat, non-rotating Earth. On page 48, it states the terrain is generally flat.
It's like every equation puts emphasis on non-rotating flat Earth, or flat, whatever word they wanted to use. Yeah, I gotta look these documents up. I gotta do more research, like, are these documents true? First thing I would say is check the links, see if those documents are real. My question is, were these released with the documents that were unclassified, where we started to learn about UAPs? Some of these documents are from the 70s. Let me know what you think in the comments down below.
So in this famous scene from The Matrix, the point has been largely lost because most people don't realize that the source material was Baudrillard and simulacra and simulation. And so the actual point of this scene, in my interpretation of Baudrillard and what the Wachowskis were probably going for here, is that this is a false dichotomy being presented as a solution. Morpheus only offers the truth. You know, you can take the blue pill and you can go back to sleep, or you can take the red pill and wake up. And, you know, but that's a false dichotomy presented by the system as a self-correcting mechanism to ensure no real change. So the only choice would have been to never participate in that false dichotomy.
I could see where he was going with that. He's saying that there was no choice. There was no red pill, just like there was no spoon. Right? The best thing was to not pick a pill at all. Not to partake. So I can see that. What do you think about MJ? Think he's still alive? I don't know, bro. Do I think that was him? Could have been. I remember seeing that long ago. I didn't think I would see it again. There it was. Let me know what you think in the comments down below.
The greatest pop star to ever live, Michael Jackson, is still alive, and here is the proof. June 25th, 2009, Michael Jackson was publicly announced dead after he suffered cardiac arrest when an ambulance was called to his house because he was unresponsive. He was taken away and later died at the hospital. But someone unknowingly followed that ambulance to the hospital and saw them remove a man with a black sheet over his head from the back of the ambulance to an undisclosed location. Why else would they need to hide his identity? It was confirmed by the license plate that that ambulance in that suspicious video was the same one he was taken away in. After pronounced dead, he was taken to the coroner from the hospital via helicopter, but look at his dead body under the sheet. This was the real helicopter he was taken away in, and it looks like his body is still very much moving under the sheet. His birth certificate and his death certificate have different names, as if the death certificate was just made to show the public. People question why his funeral was closed casket if there was nothing wrong with his appearance. His casket's now surrounded by cement. Some say so no fans dig up the body. Others say because there's no body in there at all and they want to make it impossible to find that out. Some say he attended his own funeral because Janet Jackson is looking right at this person who looks just like Michael. Before I show the most crazy piece of recent evidence, make sure you follow so you finally know the craziest conspiracy theories about each of these celebrities and request who you want to see next. In 2016, there were news stories going around that he was alive because the features of his face were seen in the background of a car selfie from his own daughter Paris that he thought he was hidden in. But he wasn't. You can see the features and it got people theorizing.
This is the fiction section. Fiction means it's a made-up story. This is the fiction section. Fiction means it's a made-up story.
It's crazy. Right next to the book Rapunzel, you see a globe and a space shuttle. Right over the word fiction. What a coincidence, right? Yeah, I used to watch Sesame Street every morning. Right? So, ain't no way I was picking up on something like that. Let me know in the comments down below. What you think of that? Think it's a coincidence?
Okay, so you may be wondering what I'm doing. Recording a square of tape in my garage. I swear I've not gone crazy. There's a very good reason for this, and if you just give me a moment here, you can see for yourself. Okay, I don't think it's worth trying to explain what's gonna happen here. You just have to see it to believe it. So I've got some wood chips here, just a bunch of wood. And just watch this and prepare yourself because it's really freaky. Watch the square. Look at that. Gone. They're gone. All right, I'm going to show it again just because wood chips was a little bit of a weird example. But here's a baseball. All right, and just watch. Gone. Gone. It went in. All right, I'm going to do a couple tests now. I've got this tape measure here. And I'm just gonna let that down and see how far it goes. I feel it's like vibrating. What just happened? Where am I? Where am I? Hello? Hello? What is that? Okay. This better still be recording. What? How did they even get in here? How did this even... This looks more normal. Hello? That's blood. Hello? Is there someone in here? Hello? Do you need help? Please don't be a dead body. Please don't be a dead body. Hello? Okay, what the? What is this? Is it like plant? What? What is that? Whoa! What the? What?
You know I'm a fan of the back rooms. I've never seen this one before. Started in her garage and it just went somewhere else. I never seen that green energy before. That was new to me right there. I kept seeing the green light throughout the video. So, boy, I wonder what happened. I wonder if there's a part 2 to this story.
Family of 4 living in Sacramento, California. Terry is 45, married with 2 daughters in their 20s. He was born in Pakistan and moved to the U.S. at the age of 4. He has a master's degree in engineering. One daughter is an aeronautical engineer and the other is a sociologist entering law school. Terry became a target just after 9/11. The entire family of 4 are overt targets of gang stalking and microwave attacks. Normally only one person is targeted overtly within a family group. Terry's family is very religious, Baha'i faith, and very close-knit. They are lucky compared to other targets who are purposefully isolated from family and friends. This family of targets has drawn together closer since they are aware of a collective torment. Terry had several common risk factors: above average intelligence, foreign birth, interracial marriage, religious minority. But this case was strange because these were not the usual high number of risk factors, and the overt targeting of an entire family was outside the norm. I visited the family and observed them for several days. They are loyal Americans who prize education and freedom above all things, yet they were in obvious distress. Terry has owned his home for 28 years. The neighbors were newcomers who ran the gamut from strange to menacing. I identified about 8 different neighbors who I considered to be behaving in the standard manner of perpetrators. Many would come and go at the same time as Terry's family members, as if they did not have regular working hours. This shadowing activity is common among TIs, and is designed to let the target know that they are being observed and their comings and goings are known. According to Terry, some of the neighbors' houses where they live were not the neighbors' only homes, and may not have been their primary residence. Several neighbors would stand outside their yards and glower at us as we sat on the porch. This in and of itself was not terribly unusual, but he was right. Something was in the air. The family reported microwave attacks that featured shocks, stings, stabs, burns, and the wasting effect of generalized fatigue and emotional distress of standard non-lethal microwave attacks. The entire family was experiencing fatigue and moderate to serious health effects due to frequencies that interrupt sleep, induce fatigue, and cause a general physical wasting. Like most TIs, they sought relief from their torture with shielding, which often included everything from thermal blankets to Faraday cages to lead bricks, in an effort to deflect the physical heating and bodily deterioration from being cooked. Terry has an engineering degree, so his house was a collection of what I find in the homes of most TIs: electronic detection equipment, thermal blankets, oscillating fans, humidifiers, and even at one point the family resorted to corrugated sheeting, placed at discrete angles stacked all around the outside of their house. The image of 12-foot by 3-foot wide corrugated sheeting entirely surrounding the outside of a house in suburban Sacramento did not go unnoticed. Terry showed the authorities the readings of elevated levels of microwave energy in and around his house, the burns on thermal blankets, the burns on vegetation outside the house, documented health effects on the family members including lupus, and the constant harassment and stalking behavior of his neighbors meticulously documented, all to no effect. Terry bravely made the evening news for 2 weeks, at which time he was forced to take his shielding down. Terry reported to me previously that he was walking on the side of his house and felt a blast of warm air. A large hose was coming out of his neighbor's attic and into his yard in a concealed manner. The neighbors who moved in all around him shortly after his targeting with microwave weapons began had planted fast-growing trees and hedges that formed an enormous U-shaped barrier 30 to 60 feet high on 3 sides of his home. It was a barrier that contained the air around his house very tightly. The prevailing wind generally pushed the airflow toward the front of his home and into the open area of the barrier, thus containing the air in a tight pocket around his home. When Terry discovered the concealed hose, he mounted very large industrial fans in his backyard and pushed the captive air out of the artificially created air pocket. A school that is less than 100 meters from his back door was immediately evacuated in what was described publicly as a gas leak emergency. I personally witnessed his immediate neighbors often react to a distinctive horn. When it sounded, they entered their houses and shut all the doors and windows for approximately an hour. When the distinctive horn sounded again, the neighbors emerged from their homes as if they had been given an all clear. Subsequently, the suspicious neighbors can be observed washing down their cars, the sides of their houses, and even the sidewalks with a high-pressure hose, leaving a distinctive residue on the ground. At night, the neighbors can be observed using a black light or ultraviolet light inside their homes. Ultraviolet light is a primary means of destroying virus particles. Virus in the lab that is exposed to ultraviolet light will literally fall apart in very short order. The reason that Terry and his family are targeted together is that they are in a distinctive category of the experimental weapons development program. Terry and his family are being used in an experimental fashion to test the use of small amounts of biological and chemical agents in tandem with microwave frequencies. The experimental virus or chemical particles are released from the house next door into the air pocket around his home, formed by the enormous hedges and trees that surround his house in a U-shape. The horn is sounded, and the neighbors quickly enter their homes and shut the doors and windows to prevent exposure. Terry, his wife, and their 2 daughters are bathed in microwave frequencies that resonate or spin the viral and chemical agents to increase their activity within the human body. The blood-brain barrier porosity is altered by the microwave attack, and particle sizes that would normally be blocked are allowed to cross the blood-brain barrier directly into the brain. The microwave weapon is tuned specifically to the resonance frequency of the viral or chemical particles and bathes all 4 of their bodies, and thus increases the reactivity of the introduced agent millions of times above normal. This functions the same as giving the experimental group a massive dose of the experimental agent. The exposure is made and then allowed to dissipate, at which time the all clear is sounded and the neighbors emerge from their homes and wash down the sides of their houses, their cars, and their sidewalks. Normally, biological warfare agents will deteriorate almost entirely in a matter of hours under conditions of direct sunlight and heat. Terry and his family are being used as human experimental subjects to perfect the latest technique for using chemical and biological agents in conjunction with microwave weapons. Terry is plagued with health problems that have left him unable to work. When he visits the doctor, tests of many kinds are run, and the results and those of his family are given to the government perpetrators of these crimes in order to measure the effect of the viral and chemical agents. Terry and his entire family are in a terminal experiment that will end in death. He and his family have been sacrificed to perfect the latest use of non-lethal weapons in conjunction with biological and chemical warfare. The Department of Defense hides these programs in the Department of Justice under the title of crowd control in order to avoid detection, which would put them in violation of international treaties, not to mention war crimes. I have told Terry that he should move, but he was adamant that he and his family would stay no matter what. I informed him of my worst fears, to which he replied that the experiment would only recommence at a different location. From my experience with the target population, I could not dispute this assertion.
Yo, that's a bugged out story right there. That's crazy. Silent weapons for quiet wars. I couldn't tell if it's fact or fiction, to be honest. Like the lines got blurred somewhere. Though, if I was him, I'm out. That's crazy. Especially about knowing that pocket of air in them trees right there. Nah, we gone. Nah, that was crazy. What a story. Spooky. That was creepy. Right? That's a tinfoil hat wearer's worst nightmare.
A lifetime of indoctrination has given us a knee-jerk reaction to certain terms. Because the heliocentric globe is all we have ever known, when someone suggests that our creation is flat, we imagine some disk floating in outer space, perhaps with water flowing off the edge. This is not biblical cosmology. Such a conception is circulated by misinformation agents as a way to ridicule and discourage investigation of the subject. When it comes to how vastly different biblical cosmology is to the spinning space ball, an absence of curvature is just the tip of the iceberg. Here are 5 key aspects of biblical cosmology. 1. The firmament and the waters. There is no outer space in the biblical model. The first chapter of Genesis and other scriptures describe our world as being encased within an immeasurable body of waters. These vast waters are referred to as the deep. On the second day of creation, God made the firmament to divide the waters which were below from the waters which were above, allowing for an inhabitable expanse in between. Even after the flood, these waters remain, for the psalmist David declared in his day, "Praise him, ye heavens of heavens, and ye waters that be above the heavens." Isaiah describes the firmament as being of a solid material that was stretched out as a curtain over the earth. The fact that the firmament is indeed a domed structure is confirmed by Isaiah's use of simile, comparing it to a tent to dwell in. Elihu described the sky as strong, likening it to a molten mirror. Such terminology proves that the Bible writers understood the firmament to be solid. 2. A circular face with ends. The Bible repeatedly mentions that the earth has ends, and further, that it has a face. A sphere does not have ends, and it is the only shape without a face. The face of the earth is described as a circle when viewed from heaven above. The Hebrew word for circle, kug, does not indicate a sphere, as many would argue, for Isaiah used another Hebrew word, dur, when referring to a ball. The Hebrew word kug is elsewhere translated compass. During our world's creation, God set a compass, or engraved a circle, upon the face of the depth. 3. Fixed upon foundations and pillars. While modern science claims that the earth is moving through space at unbelievable speeds, the Bible declares that the earth is presently established, or fixed, and that it shall not be moved. God himself said to Job that he laid the foundations of the earth. It is also written that the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he hath set the world upon them. Pillars and foundations are structural components that must be firmly set in order to serve their purpose. This raises the question, whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? The Bible answers, "He hath founded it upon the seas, and established it upon the floods." This seemingly impossible feat of engineering, the earth being founded upon waters, was marveled at by Job, who declared, "He hangeth the earth upon nothing." That is, nothing which affords stability as far as man is concerned. The structure of the heavens, the firmament, is also set on pillars, which are said to tremble at God's reproof. 4. The divine dwelling. God's throne sits directly above the firmament. Just as the pillars of the earth are struck in the waters below, God likewise layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters which are above the earth. It is written, "The Lord sitteth upon the flood." Being literally enthroned above our world, the Heavenly Father looks down from the height of his sanctuary. To illustrate the vertical vantage point God occupies, Isaiah states that men are as grasshoppers from God's view. 5. Geocentric, not heliocentric. According to Scripture, the sun, moon, and stars are not millions of miles away, but are simply lights in the firmament of the heaven. Far from being a cluster of space rocks and burning gases roving in their own courses, the Bible teaches that these mysterious luminaries were made for the sole service of the earth.
Do is teach you how to think.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
Power of the system we live in is to make people believe things that are so ridiculous on the face of it, but they've been told it over and over and over since the day they were born, that they can't question it anymore. Many of the things, like the sun is a good example. For someone to say the sun's a hell of a lot closer to us than 93 million miles, the average person's going to roll their eyes. This is the system protecting itself in the lie that we have been constructed into. A lot of people will go at this and say, well, why did we get lied to? Well, you can think of basic reasons, like to deny someone the knowledge of knowing where they exist. That deprives a human being of almost everything. To not even understand where you exist denies you really much ability to know where you're going to go, where you've come from, the things that are even possible in this place because you don't even know what this place is.
You're saying that after a Big Bang, even with the law of thermodynamics called entropy, which we'll get to in a second, somehow our galaxy ended up being a perfectly flat plane? Not just is the solar system a flat plane, the entire Milky Way galaxy is a flat plane, where all the planets spin in the same direction. The odds of that are less than winning the Mega Lotto every single day for thousands of years. Now look at the moon. The moon is a perfect circle. The odds that happened after Big Bang and just chaos of atoms and particles and dust and rocks colliding is zero. The odds are literally zero. There's no force, there's no wind, there's no erosion, there's no water, there's no force acting upon that moon that would make it a perfect sphere. The odds that the spin of the moon is exactly the same speed as it rotates around the Earth, again, are zero. If it was 1/4 of 1 mile per hour different, it would slowly turn. And there is zero physics explanations with the model of gravity as we know it to explain why its axis rotation is exactly matching it rotate around us so that we only see one side. Light being shined upon a sphere does not make the luminescence the same all the way across. You can do a test with a tennis ball and a flashlight. It's impossible. It can't happen. It only happens on two-dimensional objects. Seeing as you've only seen one side of the moon because of its miraculous rotation and its perfect circle, and the fact that the luminescence is the same across the whole thing, implies, I'm not stating this, it implies it's a two-dimensional object. Okay? The size and weight of the moon, according to science, it is impossible for it to be rotating around our Earth. The way the moon was created according to mainstream science is that an object the size of Mars hit Earth and created the moon. That's nonsense. We would have rings like Saturn. Where's all the dust? Where's all the debris? Where's everything? That all just disappeared? That makes no sense at all. Next up, the sun is 400 times bigger and miraculously 400 times farther away than the moon. And like two machine-cut quarters, they line up perfectly to make an eclipse. The odds of that are 1 in trillions times 1 in trillions times 1 in trillions. It's not possible. That the perfect circles in this world line up perfectly with something 400 times larger from a third factor, which is your fixed position on an Earth, that they claim is spinning 1,000 miles an hour. The shadow of the eclipse is 70 miles wide. There is no way to make a shadow smaller than the object. Of course, there are people that say umbra, because like goats, they've been trained to say that, but they cannot recreate an umbra on Earth. They only believe it because they've been indoctrinated to believe it since the time of their birth by people who want to remove their connection to God.
Science is a bit of a religion now. When you come into a scientific group and you challenge NASA, they're not going to talk to you. They're just going to call you a silly man and ignore everything you say. Well, see, this is the programming of science doing this. Science should be dictating that anything we can question should be questioned, and yet this is not what we see.
The law of entropy is that matter and energy naturally go from order to chaos. If you break a glass, even after 1 billion years, the broken shards will not reform into the glass because objects have a tendency towards entropy, towards dissolving, towards breaking apart. So how do we have a human eyeball from a Big Bang? The Big Bang happens and it creates a never-ending waterfall, cascade, domino effect of atoms smashing against each other in an empty darkness for eternity. So given the law of entropy that things go from order to chaos, how on Earth do we have the structure of a human eyeball in which we can see light and then recreate the light in our minds as images that represent our physical reality? It contradicts to a point of laughable mockery.
What are you reading?
What does that say?
Simulacra and simulation.
Okay. What do you want to ask me about it?
What does this book talk about?
This book talks about reality, what reality is, and how reality in this day and time can be manipulated. Like some people live through a phone, and this book breaks it down. Okay, it analyzes how we interpret reality.
If you had one book to recommend to the world, what would that book be?
Read David Icke's The Biggest Secret.
So yeah, supposedly this was the book that inspired the movie The Matrix. So of course, gotta see what it's all about. Let me know if you've heard of this book. If you read it before, let me know in the comments down below.
Did you know that Michael Jackson was allegedly taken out of an ambulance? After Jackson's death, a forensic pathologist came to collect his body. A man covertly following the ambulance started recording with his video camera. The man thought he was going to capture footage of the body, but he faced a shocking event. Michael Jackson was seen being lowered from the back door of the ambulance with a bodyguard and led into a building. This video was instantly watched by 1.5 million people and created a huge buzz. Everyone believed Michael Jackson had faked his death. However, there were those who wanted this video to be forgotten and tried to make the public forget the truth by claiming the video was fake. A German channel announced that it was a prank video and claimed it was theirs, but there were clear differences between the behind the scenes footage they released and the original video. In the real video, the bodyguard raises his left hand, while in the fake video, he raises his right. There are, of course, a few more details that can't fit into a short video. It seems someone created a fake behind the scenes video after the fact, trying to prove the original video was fake, but assuming the public would believe without questioning, they made minor mistakes. So why they couldn't call the moving body captured by live broadcast cameras in the helicopter fake?
And that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed tonight's rabbit hole. And if you haven't already, please take a second just to smash that like, subscribe, ring that notification bell just to make sure the algorithm knows what's up. So what we gonna do, y'all? That's right. Run these numbers up. Thanks again. Until next time.